Okay, so good day everyone. I'll create a recording for today discussing about linked lists for you to understand or better understand the lesson. So for the theory part, I'll create another recording, and for the programming part, I will upload today, September 17 if possible. So I will not use complicated codes to implement this one, but I will use user-defined functions. So let's start with the library of the program. I will use IO stream. So let's say, for example, we will create a linked list and implement the different operations in linked list. So basically the operations of linked list, so int main. So basically the operations of linked list is, let's say, see how. So operations of linked list. So let's say, for example, the first operation of linked list is insert. So there are three possibilities of insert. You can insert at the beginning, insert at the end, and insert at a certain position. So let's say, for example, insert at beginning. Then we also have, so see out, insert at the end. And we also have number 3, that is insert at a position. So let's just put an ending to this one, or backslash n, a new line, para hindi po sila magkadikit-dikit. So let's focus on those three operations first. So number 1, that is insert at the beginning, insert at the end, and it's insert at a certain position. I will just include display so that we can see the output of this different operation. Let's say, for example, that is display. Okay. So that is display. And see out, enter your choice. So if we told the user to enter something, then we need a variable to contain that input. So basically our choices, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will be an integer. So we need to declare an integer, which is, let's name it choice. So in choice, then we can use choice to contain the variable inputted by the user. So let's say, for example, that is choice. The next, so we need to test if choice is equal to 1, is equal to 2, is equal to 3, or is equal to 4. So so if choice is equal to 1, then what should we do? If that is equal to 1, I'll just copy copy paste this one, because we will use this one later on. So we have four choices: one, two, three, four. Then we have else, else. Okay. So else if, and then else if. So if the choice is equal to 1, then the operation is inserting at the beginning. So C out. So let's just put a new line so that it would be more organized. So insert at the beginning. So backslash n. So let's assume that we will create a function that is insert begin. So insert underscore begin. So then we let the user to go back. Let's say go to start. Go to uh, choices. So let's create a label in here that is choices. Okay. Then for the second one, is two. Anyway, this function later on will be created. I'll just create the main function first, so it would be more organized later on. So that is, let me just copy this one. So insert at the end. So insert at the end. So let's say that this will be insert end. Insert end. And for the third one, it is at the position. So let me copy this one and paste it here. So insert at a position. Position. So let's say for example this one is insert pos. Then the last one, if the choice is equal to 4, then this is displaying the elements. So this should be displaying elements of list or linked list. So let's say for example the function for this one is display. Now for the last one, that is the default condition, if the user inputted something that is not in the choices, let's say for example 5, then the program will redirect the user to choose again. So let's say for example, so C out, that would be, let's say for example, that is wrong input. So wrong input, and then we can redirect the program to go back to the beginning, which is, or go back to the choices, which is choices. Okay. So our main function is already created. Now we need to declare these functions. We need to create, I should say, we need to create these functions so that our program will work. So now the first thing that we should do is, before we create a function which is insert, we should create a node first. But before that, we need to declare a node with two members, which is the data and at the same time the next pointer. Because a node, take note, a node in a linked list contains of two members, data and the next pointer. Let's name the data as info, and let's name the next pointer as next. Okay. So we declare by using struct. So struct. So this is the node. Let's name it as node. So we have two members. That is, let's say for example, int info. This is the name of the data. Then we have a next pointer, that is struct node. Let's name it as next. And then an object which is a pointer, which is the beginning, or let's name it as start. In other references, it's called head. So we have already our node. The next thing that we should do is, so that our code later on will be more organized, let's create a function to create a node. So let's say for example, we'll name it as new node. So node, new node, and of course, if we are to create a node, we need to input a value, that is the data. In our declaration a while ago, that is, we use info. So now it has a parameter, let's say for example, that is an integer value to be inputted, or value to input. So for example, that is value to input. Let's put an underscore so that it would be readable. So the parameter is value to input, which is an integer. Next, so we need to declare, let's say for example, uh, we need to declare another variable for us to equate, or to store, I should say, for us to store the node later on. Let's say for example, that is, we name it as temporary variable. This is just a temporary storage for us to store the node we are creating. So let's say for example, that is temp. Then temp, that would be equal to the new node we are creating. So new, that is struct node, or new node. And next, let's test if the temp variable is equal to null, so that we can so that we can be assured that it has already an input. If null po kasi siya, pag nakalagay po ang value ni temp null, so ibig sabihin wala pang memory allocation, or hindi pa naka-assign yung mga values sa kanya. So if temp would be equal to null, then let's say for example, let's output cout no memory allocation. So no allocated memory. No allocated memory. Ayan. So let's just put an ending. ENDL. That should be small letter. That is ENDL, not 1. And return 0. So otherwise, so it will already create the node. So temp, I'll just, so temp of info would be equal to, temp of info would be equal to the value to input, this one. So value to input. Then temp of next, so we are just inserting a single element, so the next pointer should be null. So temp of next would be equal to null. Then we need to return temp. Okay. So this is already the function to create a node. So we will just reuse this code later on. Next, so we will now create the function for inserting at the beginning. So that was the name. So it should be insert begin. So let's say for example that is void, then insert underscore begin. So insert begin, what should it do? So there are possibilities in inserting at the beginning of a linked list. The first possibility is the linked list is empty, and the other one, the linked list is not empty. So if the linked list is not empty, what should we do? We need to move the head to the second element, meaning the head or the start would become a next pointer to the element we will input. First of all, we need to declare a variable which will contain a value. Is it already declared? Is value a int value? So cout, enter uh, element to be inserted. So enter element to be inserted. So we will use the variable value. Okay. So cin value. After that one, we need to create the new node already. So if we are to create a new node, we need to store that one into a temporary variable. So let me declare a temporary variable. Let's say for example that is struct node. Let's name it as temp bar. Okay, temp bar. So temp bar will now be equivalent or equal to the new node that we will create. New node, then the value of that one is the value we inputted a while ago. So new node value. Okay. So what's next? As I told you, we need to check if the linked list is empty or not. How do we check if the linked list is empty? So let's say if start, which is the head, start is equal to null, then meaning the linked list is empty. So what should we do? So start would be equivalent to the temp value that we are inputting. So start would be equal to temp var. The next, start of next, of course, yung susunod sa kanya, start of next would be equal to null. Okay? The next possibility is if the linked list is not empty. So otherwise, if that's not empty, what should we do? We need to store, take note we need to store the head of the linked list into a temporary variable. So we need another temporary variable. Let's say for example that is temp var 2. So temp var 2. Now, temp var 2 will hold the head of the linked list temporarily. So that would be equivalent to start. The next, the head will now be equivalent to the variable we have inputted a while ago. So start should be equal to the temp or temporary variable we have inputted. Then we need to adjust. The previous head will now become the next element. So start of next will now be equivalent to temp var or temp var 2 I should say, because it holds the previous head temporarily. Okay, so this is already inserting at the beginning. Now, for us to check this one, we need to create the function display. So function, it should be the first one to be created anyway. Function to display. Okay, function to display. Display the elements. So the function to display the elements. So what was the name? We use display. So it should be void then display. So void display. Okay. So there are two possibilities in displaying the linked list, if it's empty or not. So we already know on how to determine if the linked list is empty. So if start is equal to null, then automatic the linked list is empty. So let's output. So cout linked list or list is empty. Empty. Ano ba't empty? Empty. Okay, that should be empty. So list is empty. And we need to return the value. Next. Otherwise, if it's not empty, then we need to iterate all of the elements. So while let's say for example, take note guys paano natin malalaman kung ilan lahat yung element or kung hanggang saan lahat yung element ng linked list natin? It's just simple. So to know the end of our linked list, take note that the next pointer of the last element should be null if that is a simple linked list. So while say for example that is start is not equal to null, then what should we do? We need to iterate all of the elements. So we need to output cout start of info. Okay. So we need to put something so that it would be distinguishable for other elements. Okay. So start, we need to iterate now. Start will be equal to start of next. We need to adjust the elements. Okay. Then we need to output the last one or should be output something. Okay, wala naman nang susunod sa kanya. So we just need to output null. This will determine the end of the linked list. Okay, so we just output null. Now, these two function is at the bottom of our code, as you can see. This function is at the bottom of our code. Now, take note, ah. Now, for us to use this function, we need to declare it before the main function. So, we have void display. So, if in declaring, we need to put a semicolon. In our code a while ago, we didn't put semicolon in here because we are creating a function. So, void, that is insert begin. Is that insert begin? Insert begin. Okay, so that's insert begin. Does it still have an error? Okay, so we just comment out the other function first because it's not yet created. It should be display. It's not display. Display. Okay, display. Okay, so we already created two functions and we need to test that one if it's working or not. Let me check my OBS if it's recording. Oh, it's recording. Okay, so we have created four choices or operations, that is insert at the beginning, insert at the end, insert at the position, and display. So the functions we have finished is beginning and display. So let's start with one. So insert at the beginning, enter the element to be inserted. Let's say that would be 10. Oh, okay, 10. Okay. So you cannot see it because uh, the elements of the linked list is not yet displayed. So we have created the display. So let's say display. We choose 4. Okay. So displaying elements of list, that is 10 and null, because we only have a single element. Now let's create again, or let's insert again at the beginning. Let's say for example that is elements to be inserted. Let's assume that is 9. Then we need to display 4. Ah, wait. It didn't output the second one, which is 10. Okay, let me check the code first. So let's check the code for inserting at the beginning. Inserting at the beginning. Let me just check. So we have enter a value, uh, and the value is by using new node. So how about the display? Let's check the display. I think it's already correct. So, okay, let's instead of using start, let's declare a variable. Let's say for example, for us to equate start. I think start is not working in here. So in here. So we need to use another variable, that is struct coding. Let's say for example that is 10. So instead of using that one, temp would be equal to start. Okay, so we use temp in here. So temp, nakaayaw niya po yung start na ginamit natin. So temp of info. And then temp of next. Let's check again. Check, check, check again. Okay, so we have one. Sort at the beginning. So should we say 10? Wait, we should put a new line in here so that it will not. And for the better view. So let's say for example, insert at the beginning. So let's say assume 10, line 10. Sige, sabihin natin 20. So display. Ooh, what happened? My God. This one. It should be temp, not start temp because we already changed it to temp. So 1, then 21, then display for. Okay, so 21. Yan na. Again, let's insert elements to be inserted 19, display 4. Okay, so it's already working. 19, then 21, then let's create again. So insert at the beginning element should be 17. Let's try 17. And display the elements. So 17, 19, 21, and null. So it's already working. Okay, so I will end this one now and need to take a rest kasi inuubo naman ako.